Welcome to Kids Recall. In today's video, we'll be going through the 2016 animation family movie, Ice Age: Collision Course. It's time to recall. Let's get started. Turn on subtitles and spoilers ahead. The movie starts and we see that, as usual, Scrat is trying to find some place to store his acorn. Before he can stick it in the ice, he falls through some ice and into what first seems to be a cave. Scrat puts the acorn on a pad that turns out to be a giant flying saucer. He bursts it out of the ice block it was trapped in and out into space. After hitting the planets like pinballs or pool balls, Scrat ends up shot out of the saucer with the acorn. He decides to stick it into an asteroid, naturally causing it to split and send it hurtling towards Earth. The scene then shifts to the Earth where Manny and Peaches are playing hockey. Here we are introduced to a new character who happens to be Peaches' fiancé named Julian. Ellie is fine with him, but Manny doesn't seem to be a big fan. Julian gives Ellie flowers, which Manny's annoyed with, just like every other thing Julian does, even though everyone else loves him. After the game, Ellie and Manny leave, and we see Sid, who's working on his proposal to someone he likes. The female's name is Francine, and Sid is dumped by her after Sid previously gave her poison ivy lingerie, and he laments his solitude. He thinks she's his true love, but they only went on one 14-minute date and she can't stand him. Francine leaves Sid alone with a mariachi band that he prematurely set up. He wipes his tears with a poison ivy leaf. The scene then changes and we see that Peaches and Ellie have made a lot of preparations for Ellie and Manny's anniversary. Manny is brought there and he's surprised to see everyone. Now everyone's at the party and they're expecting Manny too would give Ellie a gift, but it turns out that he forgot his anniversary. During the party, Julian lets it slip that he and Peaches will be moving away from Manny and Ellie after getting married, even though they believe the two of them would live near them as neighbors. This is when fireworks begin out of nowhere, and everyone thinks Manny is the one who arranged them. He asks Diego if he's the one who arranged it, but he tells him no. Manny then asks him to keep quiet because they're just going to pretend like they're the ones behind it, and they've done it for the anniversary. It then turns out that these are the asteroids caused by Scrat, who was propelled into outer space earlier in an abandoned spaceship during an attempt to bury his acorn. The asteroid strikes the place and the herd barely escapes. The animals run for cover for a full-blown meteor shower starts coming down. The herd runs into a cave and waits it out. Underground, a family of dino birds, Gavin and his two kids, Gertie, with the voice of Stephanie Beatrice, and Roger, swipe an egg from a triceratops. Buck the weasel swoops down and chases after the dino birds, retrieving the egg and returning it to its mother. Buck then comes across an old stone pillar that prophesies a doomsday event, which he takes with him to the surface. The dino birds decide to follow him and kill him, and on the other hand, when the meteor shower finally comes to a stop, the animals come out of the cave and are shocked to see that everything around them has been destroyed. Buck crawls out of the hole from underground and reunites with his friends while meeting Shira, Granny, Julian, and a grown-up Peaches. Buck pulls out the pillar and explains that every few thousand years, Earth gets cleansed by a gigantic meteor that crashes in the exact same spot. So, if they can head to the crash site, they can perhaps figure out a way to stop this meteor from hitting. He then tells the herd that they should make their own way out of these mountains. All the animals then have a meeting in which they discuss whether they should take Buck's help or not. Diego points out that Buck has helped them well in the past, so looking at that, they should definitely take his help, and on top of that, they really don't seem to have a choice either. As the herd heads out, the dino birds hear their plan, and Gavin thinks they can avoid it since they can fly and avoid the crash. But Roger calls him out on that being a bad idea, so Gavin berates him like always. As the herd walks on, Manny is not that happy as he sees Peaches walking with Julian and not her parents. Manny asks Ellie why can't their daughter and her fiancé live near them. There's no need for them to shift to another location. Ellie then goes on to tell him that he needs to spend more time with Julian. He is a good mammoth, and according to Ellie, he's the best suit for their daughter. As they walk on, the herd picks up some rocks that happen to be magnetized. Buck says that it's a good thing that these rocks are here because they indicate that the herd is on the right path. Buck then comes up with a theory. He goes on to say that he thinks that the asteroids that come from the sky are actually attracted to these stones. Since Crash and Eddie are confused, Buck brings them inside his mind to meet Neil the Buck Weasel. Along with Pythagoras Buck and Robo Buck to explain the magnetic attraction of the rocks. The herd figures that if they get enough of these rocks, they can propel the meteor away from Earth. Buck is taking all the animals by the road, and when he realizes the dino birds are approaching them, he tells the whole herd to go into the forest, saying that they are going to take the route through the forest, but as they walk on, they come across a big river that they're going to have to cross. As Scrat continues to get his nut, he uses the ship to cause some trouble on Earth. He pulls the moon around the planet to cause water to rise, which works to let the herd pass through. Then he hits another planet and causes an electrical storm. All the animals get trapped in what seems like lasers containing electricity. But Manny and Ellie see their daughter in trouble and they run towards her, but end up falling into a ditch. This is where Diego steps forward to help everyone and gets rid of the electric shocks. They realize that there is still one day to go before the asteroid hits, so they decide to take some rest. We see that Julian and Diego are also getting closer. Manny doesn't like it, and Diego tells him that Julian is a really good mammoth, and that Manny needs to spend more time with him. He adds that when he gets to know Julian a bit better, he's going to start liking him. Manny and Ellie try to get in the way of Peaches and Julian's plan to move away. Ellie tells her daughter that staying away isn't a good idea. She adds that if they live with a herd, they're going to be safer, and since they're going to be with their parents, they don't need to worry about a lot of stuff. However, if they decide to go away and live on their own, life could get pretty challenging for them. Peaches, however, tells and proves to her mother that she's more than ready to take care of herself and her family. On the other hand, Manny first plays hockey with Julian, but since the guy isn't very coordinated, Manny accidentally whacks him in the face with a puck and causes him to fall into the icy water. Seeing this, Peaches gets extremely upset with her father and tells him that he should be nice. She adds that because of this behavior, she is never going to live with her parents. Later, Ellie, with help from Sid, Diego, Crash, and Eddie, set Peaches up with some problems she and Julian could face as parents. Peaches quickly takes care of everything like a champ. The herd rests for the night, and the dino birds stalk them and send Roger to get Buck. He flies into the cave, but he ends up taking Granny instead. She isn't even afraid of the dino birds, even when Gavin swallows her whole. When she threatens to pop out of the dino bird's butt, Gertie helps her dad cough up Granny. The next morning, when the herd wakes, they all notice that Granny is nowhere to be found. They ask if Buck knows something about it, and that's when Buck reveals to them that he did not tell them for their own well-being, but they're being followed by dino birds, and he thinks they are the ones who took her away. Buck then realizes that they are at the right place. He says the painting on the stone resembles the one this place has. Buck goes on to add that the asteroid is going to fall because it's attracted to the stone, but if they manage to throw this stone out of the Earth's layer, the asteroid will not hit them. The herd then starts to think about how they're going to pull that off. They then hear Granny yelling and see that the noise is coming from a crashed asteroid that's filled with thousands of magnetic crystals. They find Granny getting a massage from a bunny named Teddy. They now feel like they've come to a different world. They're surrounded by beautiful stones, and they see that all the people living here are really beautiful. They have a different kind of glow on their faces. They also have a leader who is named Llama. We can see a beautiful female sloth named Brooke, and she starts liking Sid, and he reciprocates. Brooke explains that they're in Geotopia, and she brings the herd to the all-knowing Shangri-Lama. He makes the herd do some yoga exercises as Buck tries to ask him for help in launching the asteroid up in the air to stop the incoming meteor. Shangri-Lama refuses since the asteroid is what has kept him, Brooke, and the other animals living in the asteroid young and attractive. He further goes on to add that it is impossible for even the most powerful animals to move a stone that big from the surface of the Earth. All the animals get disappointed, thinking that they've come so far, and they're not even able to do anything about the calamity that's about to befall them. All the animals are now disappointed. Manny and Ellie say to each other that they've lived a happy life together, but they feel bad for Peaches and Julian, who aren't even married yet. Julian and Peaches, on the other hand, express that they, too, could have spent some quality time together if they were married. Brooke asks Sid to be her life mate, which he accepts. He wants to give her a nice crystal as a gift, so he picks one out of the wall, which causes the whole asteroid to fall apart, and makes the animals look their proper ages, including Brooke. Shangri Llama angrily chastises Sid, who says that they have been living in that place for so long, but Sid has destroyed everything in the blink of an eye. Diego looks on as Llama gives Sid a piece of his mind. Buck then says that he just spotted a volcano. Brooke also rallies the other animals to help the herd plug up the geysers so they can throw the crystal into an active volcano to shoot them at the meteor. Buck now comes up with a plan. They know that they're going to have to go through heavy labor to execute the plan in a proper way, but everyone decides that they have to do it. So they now make it clear that Buck is going to be the one who gives orders, as he knows how he can execute the plan in the best way possible. As they set the plan in motion, the dino birds swoop in and try to kill Buck, but he appeals to Roger and helps him convince Gavin and Gertie to help out, since they can all survive. The dino birds help pull the biggest crystal towards the volcano, but it's too heavy to push it. Manny tries to do it with Julian, but Julian suggests they let it roll down the hill so that it can eventually roll into the volcano, and the plan works. But the crystals don't shoot up until Granny plugs up the last geyser. The meteor then flies off course and back into space. The animals celebrate. The herd then departs back home, including Sid, who parts ways with Brooke. But just before they leave, a small crystal shard falls inside a hot spring, giving it rejuvenating properties and making the Geotopians and Granny, who stayed behind with them, regain their youth. After the herd returns, Manny reconciles with Julian, and Peaches and Julian celebrate their wedding. Diego and Shira become heroes to the kids who were scared of them before, and a rejuvenated Brooke appears during the ceremony to reunite with Sid, much to his delight. Brooke also goes on to sing a song for the party, and in the epilogue, Neil DeBuck Weasel talks about the planet Mars and how it served life like Earth in its earlier years. When Scrat sends the UFO impacting the planet, it all turns red. Scrat gets up and looks for a few seconds, but stops when he notices a dead iguana, which dissipates into ashes when he taps it with his foot. The film ends with a saber-toothed squirrel racing back to the spaceship and fleeing for Earth, just like nothing has happened. Thanks for watching! Please like, subscribe, and click the bell icon to get new movie recaps.